Leslie.
And even to piggyback on what y'all are saying regarding work-life balance and watching the previous generation culturally, how they did do it all, I think for me, the pandemic and just life in general has definitely forced me to realize that it's not possible to do it all. I'll be very honest in saying that when the pandemic hit and our kids came home to virtual school, in the spring, it was fine because we were all on lockdown. But then in the fall, when the fall came around, it was, I could still work from home, but my husband, he is an educator, so he had to be in the school building. So the kids fell on me. And I work in a job where our focus was food insecurity and getting school meals and things like that. And so my kids were falling by the wayside. Then I was also dealing with medical complications and the stress of all of it, that I had to break down and call my mother and tell her, I can't do this. And she said, we got you. So I was telling Tiara, I actually just drove in like midnight last night because I had to send my kids to Arizona for several months for my mom to take over because I couldn't do it. It was too much. And so it was hard to break down. But my mother said, you can ask for help. Don't believe that lie that you cannot ask for help. That's what you have us here for. My mom's retired. She stepped in and she did it all. She went back into teacher mode. She went into cook mode. She went into clean mode. And then even throughout my recovery, she was there throughout the process. And so it was a vulnerable moment for me, especially for my daughter to see it, because she was getting into that mindset that she had to do it all. In the spring, she would come into the office and she would see me. I have my laptop, I have my big screen, I have my phone. And so she thought that's how she was supposed to be doing her Zooms at school too. So she has this and she has that. And like, what are you doing? This is crazy. So then when she went to grandma had to hone a little bit of that in. No, you can't do it all. You have to have balance. It's okay to ask for help if you have to lean on your family. And so, that was definitely a vulnerable for me, and her seeing that. And I wanted her to be able to see that. And there was times when I cried and I was like, I'm failing them. I've dropped the ball. My kids are probably looking at me like I can't, but she did. She came to me and she's like, Mommy, I'm just proud of you. And then I had to tell her, thank you for helping me. I had to thank her and her brother for being willing to be flexible to relocate their life during a pandemic, because the most thing I wanted for them was, while I was trying to get all this other stuff together with work and juggling all the demands of work, I wanted them to be cared for 120%. So even though they know we're in a pandemic, they don't know the pandemic to the extent that I think if I had kept them here trying to do it all, and them, because they were falling through the cracks, y'all. There was one day I was on Zoom at work and it was crazy. They were supposed to be on virtual. They were not. I didn't know it until like weeks later. I found this video on Haley's phone. My son was on the dryer playing WWE video toys. She was in the back filming a whole, and I was like, where was I? I was at work, because a few minutes later I hear myself yelling. I heard the alarm go off and I was like, hey, it's time for you guys to get back on your virtual call. So yeah, I was home, but I had no idea that all this other stuff was happening. So I had to explain that to them. I was like, this is part of life, but we all have to work together. And the kids were so flexible and willing to do that. So that was really hard for me. But at the same time, it was definitely a lesson for them, in that it's okay to ask for help. And sometimes you can't do it all. Sometimes you have to pick one thing to focus on and let somebody else step in and help you with the other stuff. And I am going to call for a housekeeper. That's next on my to-do list. That it is, because I'm not doing this anymore.
See, I haven't gotten there yet because I don't like people in my house just yet. But we gonna get to the point. Okay, and that's actually a perfect segue to Brittany. And how have you prioritized your wellness, your personal wellness, now that everything is happening in this world?
So I'll say I started that when I was pregnant. Because I'm a health and wellness coach in yoga, I remember distinctly seeing my mom, like you said, do it all and everything. And I was like, Mom, how did you do all that? And like you guys talked about, she was a mom 100% all the time, that I didn't really see her take a lot of breaks. And so just talking to my mom, she's like, make sure you take time for you. So we had that discussion, you know, while I was pregnant. So I started early getting some input from my mom and her advice. I'm like, okay, let me go ahead. And I do have Tyler. So times have changed. So my mother, whenever she was pregnant with me, dads didn't get paternity leave. So whenever she had me, my dad was home for a week and then he had to go back to work. So, and it was just me and like LaTanya talked about, my mom had just moved to Kansas City and my dad had a new job. So she didn't get to, you know, hand me off to my dad or someone like that. So now, you know, years later, and we're in a different generation, my husband has the ability to take paternity leave. So my mom was like, take advantage of that. You have your husband at home with you. And especially now they're in a pandemic, you both are home. So you don't feel like you have to do it all. So be sure that he's involved too. And I have a great husband who's like, Brittany, go ahead. You know, I'll watch her. You go ahead and do your workouts. And for me, what's good for me and my health and wellness is exercise. So I'll take time. Okay, I'm going to take an hour a day or maybe even 30 minutes or whatever I can. And I'm going to either, you know, do my resistance bands, do a meditation or do a workout. And that's what I do for me. And it started with my mom telling me, you know, I didn't have the help that you have because we were by ourselves. It was just me and you. So now that, you know, times are different, your husband is home, we're in a pandemic, take advantage of this. And so every day I make time. I'm like, Tyler, can you watch her? I'm going to take, you know, an hour. I'm going to do a yoga class. Or Mom, you're here. Can you watch her? I want to take a walk outside. So I have to plan that out. It takes more time. Whereas before, when I didn't have, you know, Skylar, I could just, you know, go out to a yoga class. Before a pandemic, I could just, you know, leave for hours at a time, go out with friends, hang out. But now I have to be intentional about it and plan it. All right, for my mental health and my wellness, I need to plan out the day before. Hey, Tyler, tomorrow at lunch, are you available? So that I can take, you know, an hour walk and have, you know, time to get back and get ready for work and everything. But will you be able to watch Skylar? So that has been helpful, getting that insight from my mom to push me to say, you don't have to do it all. You know, you have a husband who's at home, have him help too. And he's willing to do it. He's like, Brittany, you know, you do so much, let me help. And you know, I am her dad. I'm not babysitting. I'm her father. So it's not babysitting. This is my child too. So we're a team. So having a team effort here has really helped me. And I was telling people, I'm only 4 months in. I don't feel like I've gone through any postpartum depression. Again, people are like, we're only 4 months in, give it time. But I'm not claiming that I have that. And I really think it's because I have the help. I have my husband is here. My mom is helping. And so for my mental health and wellness, I'm able to take the time that I need. And I think that's really, really, really been helpful for me.
No, you really like hit the nail on the head when you said utilize your partner, because the beginning of quarantine, like me and my husband, like of course the schedule is like a little bit different. So he works out and trains, and then he comes home and his time is his own, like pretty much. And so for me, I was again doing it all. I was like cooking and cleaning and being a wife and like taking care of the kid. And so he saw like, oh, she got it because she's not asking me. So I'm going to get on the video game. Whereas I know you see me struggling. Why are you not helping me? And so then finally, my therapist told me that she was like, Tiara, have you asked him? Like, have you had that conversation? And so literally as soon as I was like, hey, can you do this? He's like, oh, yeah. And so then I was like, this is how I feel. And he was like, but you didn't say nothing.
You didn't say anything.
And so I was like, yes, utilize your partner.
Yes, and that's true
you
too.
Have
because
to tell men what you want.
Exactly, I was going to say that. Tyler's like, Brittany, I can't read your mind, because at one point I was up there. I don't remember why I was crying, but he was like, well, what do you need me to do? And I was like, oh, I need you to go get this. He was like, Brittany, I would have never known if you had never told me. So like now he spent 2 hours yesterday at the grocery store. I'm like, I need you to get the groceries and I'll cook. So we're a team, because like before I saw my mom, she would do the grocery shopping. She would do the cleaning. She would do the cooking. And I'm like, Tyler, I'm not going to the store, get the food and cooking it. So you can and I'll cook it. And so, but he was like, yeah, you've got, and he's been doing that for years. But it started off with me voicing what I needed from him. And then when I got pregnant, okay, this is what I need from you. And it's worked. It's worked out for us really well.
Yeah. Oh, this has been great, guys. I love it. Okay, so like I said, at the end of like my Rebel mini series, when I interviewed each person, I always ask them the same question because it's so important. So I'm gonna go down the line, and you guys are gonna tell me what gives you hope. Starting with this one.
I think having faith gives me hope. Because some days I don't have hope. But I just know that if I just keep on, if I wake up the next day, that it might be better. And sometimes it might take a week for it to be better. But I just have faith in God that I'm going to make it. I made it this far. I've had a lot of tragedies in my life, but I keep living, and I'm going to keep on living. That's my hope, that I have faith to get me through it.
Jordan, next.
I know who holds tomorrow. I don't know what his plans are, but I know he's not going to put me in a situation that he's not going to bring me out of. So knowing that, I just do what's required. Whatever is asked for me, that's all I can do. I can't worry about what's going on in the world, because I'll stress myself out and I can't do what I'm called to do. So because I know I'm kept and he's gonna work it out with his plans, I'm big chilling. Like, I'm good. If we're good, everything else will take care of itself. There's some situations that, I would have preferred not to be in. But reflecting, community has kept us going. My child has never lacked, despite what other people might not have done, but he got us, and he's got me, and he's kept me. So, and all of y'all, I mean, I might not know you personally, but you've impacted my friend. LaShonda, I met her on a bachelorette weekend, and I asked her, like, how do I keep this child entertained? Because she'll steal scissors and she cut her hair, and Jesus Christ, I thought we was all gonna go to glory that day. But knowing people that know people that'll help us, and he puts people in places to lift us up, we're good. We're good.
Jordan, your friend cut her hair too.
Oh, she's alive. Praise
told you. Exactly.
There must be something about that hair. I don't know.
Gonna make it.
And
Listen,
Jordan,
I am not my hair.
when my oldest daughter was 6, all her cousins were a lot older, like in their early 20s or whatever. So she had saw one of them. It was picture day. So she took an actual razor blade at 6 years old to arch her eyebrows.
Oh.
She comes out the bathroom with slits all in her eyebrows. And I'm looking like, what in the world? I said, where'd you do that with? And she shows me this sharp razor. I about had a heart attack. So things like that, if that hadn't happened yet, it's gonna happen. It's just par for the course. It's just gonna happen. But Jordan, you definitely can do this. I'll take it. 3 daughters on my own. Financial help and everything from their dads, but you can do it even on the days that you feel like you can't do it. Start reflecting back on the day he got you through. When you're having a really bad day, think of the last worst day that you thought that you weren't going to get through, and how you got through it. So you'll know you're going to get through that day. It's strictly 1 minute at a time. I don't even say 1 day at a time. It's strictly 1 minute at a time. And you're going to mess up. You're going to feel like the worst sometimes. But keep that village around you. Keep good people like Tiara and LaShonda around you. People that you can call. And when they say hello, you just say, ah! They say, I know, girl. It's gonna be okay. Keep that with you.
Thank you.
And Latanya's children, they're wonderful. They're wonderful.
Yeah, I have Mother Teresa, Rebel with a Cause, and Einstein. So 3 totally different personalities. My 16-year-old knows everything. And my middle one, if there's a cause to be fought, she's going to try to fight the power. And then my oldest one is, I just want everybody, she could have been a flower child.
Yeah.
And God knows what he's doing. He gave me that one first. This beautiful flower. Running through and then he gave me the Rebel. And it's like, boy, you know how to, because I would have stopped at the Rebel.
So, Miss Latanya, what gives you hope?
It may sound cliche, but Jeremiah 29:11, when he says that, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and an expected end. That expected end part, that does it for me. Because in my mind, regardless of what goes on, he already has it written in stone. But the expected end for me is he knows everything from the beginning to the end. And I've just reconciled with myself. And Candy always talks about, she goes, nothing bothers you, nothing upsets you. You're just so, and it's like, because I've reconciled with myself that no matter how much fretting, how much worrying, how much crying, how much, it's not going to change that expected end. So that hope that I have, and I keep, comes from Jeremiah 29:11, and it comes from remembering what he's done for me time and time and time and time again. And then hope also comes when my daughters come back and say, yeah, my mama said, or my mama, they are quick. My middle daughter, child, she's a rapper. Go download her stuff on Apple. Big fan.
Yes, plug.
It's all our cousin, but she's good. But you know what? Even in that, it's like I've been building them to follow their dreams. So that gives me hope. Even when the dream is not what I imagine my dream for them as, they're following their dreams. And so those are the things that gives me hope.
Okay. Next, Brittany, what gives you hope?
Skylar's smile. She has this huge smile every morning. I wake up and I'm exhausted because, she's fed 3 or 4 times throughout the night. And I'm like, when are you going to sleep through the night? And she'll look at me and she'll just have this huge smile. And that reminds me that, what I'm on the right path. Because I think I told you, Tiara, she was not planned. So we had, all these other plans that we were going to do. We were like, all right, 2020, we're going to travel, we've saved, we're going to do this. And then the Christmas before, I looked at, pregnancy tests and I just laughed because I was like, there's no way I'm pregnant. There's no way. I'm not pregnant. I got to go to the doctor. I'm not pregnant. And then they confirmed it. And I was, at first I cried because I was like, well, this is not, I wanted another year, to do all the things I wanted to do. And I'm too selfish to be a mom. But as I grew and my belly got bigger and then I had her and then just seeing her for the first time. And then when she started smiling and just seeing her personality now, I'm like, I'm glad things worked out the way that they did. And to like Lady Latanya's point, to an expected end, God knew that I needed Skylar right now in my life. He knew that I didn't need her next year. He knew that I didn't need her 5 years ago. He knew that this time in my life that I was ready. And so seeing her in the mornings, she's a happy baby. Seeing her smile is what gives me hope. And knowing that God knows what he's doing in our lives.
And last but not least, Miss LaTonda.
I think what gives me hope is I journal a lot, and I've journaled for years, and many of them I still have with me. And just going back when you hit hard times like we've had this year, and just life in general, when you can go back and you can see how far you've come, it gives you hope that you can go another day. that you can keep pushing forward. And, similar to what Brittany was saying, I think that your children definitely give you hope. You think you have found yourself, and then kids come into your life and they redefine who you are. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say they redefine who you are, but they help you find a new layer and level of who you are. And it gives you a different type of hope, because they oftentimes are reflecting back to you who you are and how you're showing up in the world. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's not. And that gives you hope that you still have an opportunity to do better and to keep going and to keep progressing. And so just hoping in that the work that you are doing today, the seeds that you are sowing today, will be a beautiful harvest that they reap later on in life. You all have said it, your parents tell you certain things and sometimes it doesn't click until you're older. My mom and I, we were joking the other day, and stuff that she has said to me, and it's not until I have had children, now that I have children, that I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it is. And then on the drive back just last night, Haley had asked me, she said, Mommy, she said, I did pageants and cheerleading in high school. She said, when you were in high school, were the girls petty in pageants? I said, oh, pageant girls are real petty. They real petty, like petty. And she said, okay, because I had this one girl at school that I stopped fooling with her because she was doing this and this and this. And I was like, really? That happened? I didn't know that happened. And she said, yeah. She said, I just had this feeling in my spirit that it just wasn't a good idea to keep really hanging around with her. So I don't fool with her anymore. And so it was funny, but at the same time, it was like, you glad that they get it early, and she did. She's like, because she's the sensitive, kind person. So it's good. That just gave me this hope that, okay, I'm not dropping the ball and I'm not ruining these kids. They're going to be okay. So that definitely gives me hope, is, looking back on how far I've come and looking at my kids to see what is yet to come. So that definitely gives you hope to get up and keep going one more day.
With that, thank you, ladies.
Tiara,
so good.
Tiara, what gives you hope?
Listen, so definitely my faith. But especially during like COVID, I do have severe anxiety, and I needed something to hold on to, and God was the only one that could keep me grounded. Yeah. So definitely my faith, but at the same time, my family. Like, I feel like during this time we have gotten so much more close, as like we were already close, but now it's just a disgusting close. And then, like, of course, like my husband and my son, particularly, like they are part of my why. Like, they're everything. And just to watch my son continue to grow and discover this personality and strong will. But so watch him, and then even just to see like how much my husband has changed. Like, he's not the same man I married, and I love him even more than that day. And just to see him keep pushing through his obstacles and hold it down, and just like, yeah, my village in general. So that is what gives me hope. But with that, again, thank you guys. This has been amazing. Until we meet again.